Wonderful. Hello and welcome to the, what is our subcommittee called? Health Occupations and Long-Term Care Subcommittee, first meeting of the year. Thanks everyone for being here. We do have 4 bills on our agenda today. We will be discussing and voting on the first 3 bills in this order: House Bill 21, 155, and then House Bill 180. Following that, we will have a discussion on House Bill 260. Although I don't expect we'll be voting on that bill this week, but next week. With that, the first bill we're going to discuss is House Bill 21, State Board for the Certification of Residential Child Care Program Professionals, Membership and Official Seal, which is Delegate Collison's bill. Delegate Collison, anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm just we heard the testimony. It's really just a facilitating bill for the board. And if Chairman Ham wants to give any information, I'll turn it over to her.
Great. Chairman Ham, anything to add?
No, I have nothing else to add, and I'm here to clarify or answer any questions that you all may have.
Excellent. So I'll just remind the committee this is a pretty simple bill. We do have a question from Delegate Krebs. Go ahead, Delegate Krebs.
I'm sorry. I was reading your testimony. One thing that concerned me, it basically said that there's a number of the agencies have a conflict of interest, so they're not allowed to vote on things. And it seemed like there was a number of them. That seemed problematic to me, that you have a group of people for whatever reason feel like they have to abstain from voting. Why is that? Why do they have a conflict of interest?
The board members consist of agency representatives. So we have members from Department of Juvenile Services, Department of Human Services, Department of Behavioral Health, Department of Disability, and they all work for state agencies, and stated because the boards may be in conflict with their state agencies, that sometimes they have to abstain from the votes because they are state employees as well. So that's where we run into the conflict of interest, because they work for state agencies themselves. And some of the bills that we are looking at for discussion and to take a position, they have to contact their state agencies to make sure it's not in conflict.
Well, I would suggest that you guys get an Attorney General's opinion or something, because it seems like a number of them at any time have to abstain from voting. And you say it makes it difficult to have a majority. I don't have any problem with the bill, but I just think that's problematic. They've come there to sit on a board to vote, and they're bringing their expertise from their agency. So I don't see why they shouldn't be voting unless there's a clear conflict with an individual. I think somebody should get that cleared up and shouldn't continue that way. It's just my opinion, but you might get a clearer something from the Attorney General's office to say, here's when they should abstain, because I don't think this should be a normal occurrence of having multiple people on the board because of who they work for abstaining. You understand what I'm saying? I'm encouraging you to get some clarity to that, because it just doesn't seem right. But other than that, I'm fine with the bill. I just have a problem with how that's being operationalized.
And I'm
Go ahead.
thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to work with Darlene and her team to secure that information. I understand it completely and share your.
It might make it easier for them to operate. I just don't understand it. But thank you very much. It's a fine bill other than that. But I'm trying to give you some more operational opportunities here.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Sounds like a good plan moving forward.
Madam, can I move the bill?
Absolutely. Moved. Anyone want a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded by Delegate Morgan. Here's how we're going to vote in committee. Just like in subcommittee, just like in committee, we'll do a voice vote. And then raise your hand if you're in opposition. So all in favor of the bill, say aye.
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 Anybody who would like to be recorded in opposition to the bill, you can raise your hand in the thing, in the Zoom machine. I see no opposition, so it passes unanimously. Well done, Delegate Collison. Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you, Delegate Krebs, for the great next step idea. House Bill 155, State Board of Examiners for Audiologists, Hearing Aid Dispensers, Speech Language Pathologists, and Music Therapists. Is this a Lisa bill or a Lindsay bill? Lisa.
It's me.
Okay, good. Do you want to remind us what this cleanup bill does?
Yep. So last year we passed bills requiring the State Board of Examiners for Audiologists, Hearing Aid Dispensers, Speech Language Pathologists, and Music Therapists to license both audiology assistants and music therapists. And so this is just a cleanup bill for those two prior bills. The bill includes changes that clarify the quorum requirements, reciprocity requirements, disciplinary requirements, and the board's regulatory authority.
Excellent. And just as Lisa mentioned, those of you who are new to the subcommittee this year, we passed these two bills last year, and I know Delegate Sample Hughes worked very hard for a long time on the music therapy bill. Is there anything you want to add about this bill, Delegate Sample Hughes?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you to the committee. Yeah, it's, as it was stated, a cleanup bill, and it's very specific in the fiscal note if you need additional details around that disciplinary piece. So that information is there, but thank you in advance for passage of this bill.
Excellent. Any questions from the committee on this bill, or anybody want to move the bill?
Move the bill.
Second.
By Delegate Morgan, seconded by Delegate Bandari. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody wanting to be recorded as opposed, raise your hand. I'll give you a second. Looks like we have unanimous support. Nice job, Delegate Sample Hughes. Bill passes unanimously. Moving on to House Bill 180, and I think we have more folks to let in, so we'll make sure they get in while I slowly introduce the bill. House Bill 180 is the Interstate Medical Licensure Compact Sunset Extension and Reporting, which is Delegate Bagnall's bill. I'm going to go with this is a Lindsay bill. It's so hard for me to. Yep, good. So Lindsay, if you can both remind us what the bill is and remind us what the amendment does, which we discussed in the full hearing.
The bill extends the termination date for the Interstate Medical Licensure Compact and requires the Board of Physicians by October 1st, 2023 to report on the status of the compact, including the number of Maryland licensees who have applied for licensure through the compact, the number of Maryland licensees who have been approved for licensure through the compact, the member states participating in the compact, and recommendations on whether Maryland should continue participation in the compact and whether any statutory changes are needed to accomplish the goal of streamlining licensure for out-of-state physicians. As Delegate Kelly mentioned, I circulated an amendment. This was also discussed in the full bill hearing. The bill originally extended the compact 2027, and the Board of Physicians suggested extending it instead to 2030 to align with the termination date of the Board of Physicians under the Program Evaluation Act.
Excellent. And I see Delegate Bagnall is here, and there's a number of stakeholders coming in on this. I'm going to recommend that we adopt the amendment and then discuss the bill if necessary after that. But Delegate Bagnall, anything you would like to add at the top?
Just, I appreciate that, this is a simple bill because things are working and we want to keep letting them work the way that they're working.
Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and move the amendment.
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion on the amendment, which was discussed in the hearing to unify the timelines there? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to the amendment? Raise your hand in the reactions. Nobody? Perfect. Okay, so the bill is amended with the updated timeline. Any discussion on that bill? Any questions for the stakeholders who are here in support? I see everyone seems pretty comfortable with this bill. Anyone want to move the bill as amended?
Move the bill.
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the bill, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, go ahead and raise your hand in reactions. All right, good job. Another unanimous one out of our committee. Well done. We're going to move on to House Bill 260. I'm doing a quick time check. It's about 11:12. So I know we have an amendment to discuss on this bill. And then I know that Pat O'Connor is here to discuss some concerns she has also. So we want to leave time for that. I would suggest to the committee that if we want to adopt the amendment, we should do that and then have time for the discussion of the bill as amended, just like we did with the last bill, and then take up a vote next week. So this is a Lindsay bill also, right?
This is mine too. Yes.
Yes. Okay, go for it, Lindsay.
This bill transfers oversight of the inspection of the offices of physicians who prepare and dispense a prescription drug or device from the Office of Controlled Substances Administration, OCSA, to the State Board of Physicians. The bill also moves related provisions from the Maryland Pharmacy Act to the Maryland Medical Practice Act. The board must enter and inspect a physician's office within 6 months after issuing an initial dispensing permit and at least once during the duration of a renewed permit. The board must report any violation related to controlled dangerous substances found during the required inspections to OCSA. The amendment that I circulated yesterday transfers positions, funding, and records relating to inspecting the offices of physicians who hold dispensing permits from OCSA to the Board of Physicians.
Right. So I believe that this issue was raised in the hearing. I want to say by Delegate Krebs, but I don't remember for sure. But the amendment is going to ensure that that funding is there, right?
Yes, the idea is the board is already funding these positions at OCSA. The intent is to transfer those positions, any vacant positions, if there are any, all of the stuff essentially associated with this inspections that's over in OCSA transferred to the board.
So it doesn't change the intent of the bill and in any way. That was always the intent. It just really specifies that that's the expectation.
Yes, and I think I recall the fiscal note also reflected the intent that these things would transfer over.
Good, thank you for including that.
Do you want to
Madam
move?
Chairman, just a quick question. Yeah, no, I actually, yeah, I want to move the amendment. Just a quick question.
Mhm.
How much is that amount? Is it quantified, or is it what the providers or the facilities pay for that license?
It's in the fiscal note.
Yeah, the fiscal note reflects, let's see, sorry, I'm scrolling down to discussion on the salaries. It's assuming the transfer, it says of one full-time permanent position and 2 full-time contractual positions from OCSA to the Board of Physicians. It lists it at $154,527.
I second.
Perfect, thank you.
I second the amendment.
Okay, so moved by Delegate Saab, seconded by Delegate Krebs. Any further discussion of the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, you can raise your hand. Amendment passes unanimously. So now on the bill with the amendment on it, I know we're going to have some discussion here. So we have some stakeholders. I don't see a lot of cameras on, but and do we have any questions from the committee about the bill that we can answer off the top, or are folks comfortable with the bill? I don't see any questions.
Are we moving the
Delegate
bill,
Saab.
Madam Chairman? Are we moving the bill?
Do you want to move the bill as amended?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded all around. I think that was Delegate Bagnell first. So the bill's been moved and seconded. Do we have questions from the committee members? I know Pat O'Connor is here and she wants to raise some concerns. Are there any of the other stakeholders that have anything they want to add before we go to Pat? I just want to make sure I know everyone who's here. I think there's a lot of folks here to answer questions. So Pat, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Kelly, members of the subcommittee. For the record, I'm Pat O'Connor, Deputy Director of the Office of the Attorney General's Health Education Advocacy Unit. The Office of the Attorney General opposes this bill and is asking for an unfavorable vote. Before voting, the office believes it is important for the subcommittee to understand that giving exclusive inspection authority to the Board of Physicians would block access by civil and criminal authorities to any records or evidence arising out of a board inspection because of Health Occupations 14410. I will defer to Kathleen Murphy, Chief of the Office's Criminal Division, and Lisa Marks, Deputy Director of the Office's Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, to explain further. Kathleen, if you could step up.
Good morning, Chair Kelly and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for allowing us to attend today. The Criminal Division of the Attorney General's Office currently receives referrals from the OCSA. And while we would welcome referrals from the Board of Physicians, we are concerned that the Health Occupations Article, Section 14-410, which limits the sharing of information by the Board of Physicians and its investigative bodies, would really impair our ability to receive those referrals and work with them on subsequent criminal investigations. Lisa Martz, who's here with me, is the Deputy Chief of our Medicaid Fraud Control Unit. She can speak to, if you're interested in the number of cases we do with OCSA or the details of those cases. But that is really our primary concern.
Thank you. So who is here from Medicaid Fraud? I'm sorry.
Lisa Martz. I'm
Do
deputy.
you have anything to add right now, sort of about the process that we should know before we go to questions from the committee?
So thank you, Chair Kelly. Just to, educate you a little bit. We do pill mill type prosecutions. So it's very important for us to get as much information as we can. Currently looking at our referrals, we do not receive any referrals from the Board of Physicians with regards to doctors that would be suspicious of a pill mill, in a pill mill situation. However, we do have open cases even currently, that were referred to us from OCSA. So it's our concern that if the Board of Physicians were to take this over exclusively, we would have difficulty in terms of pursuing those bad docs.
Awesome. So Matt, can I do you want to respond to this right away?
Yeah, so I would just briefly, and I actually, I think in greater detail, I think Stacey Darren is on. She is board counsel, and I think she can respond to that more explicitly. But we actually reached out to OCSA regarding independent actions taken on specifically the dispensing permit inspections, because again, they have over 20,000 CDS registrations, which they retain authority over through the I believe it's Title V of criminal law, but Stacey Darren can specify beyond that. This is solely referring to the 651 dispensing permits that they perform the inspections of, but when we contacted OCSA, they've never initiated any independent investigation. They've never taken any independent action based on those inspections. They simply forward that to our board. And I'll let Stacey speak to kind of the legal side of things, but
okay, and so
we are happy to. I was just going to say we are happy to work with and share any information we have, though, with any relevant parties. That's
okay. And before I go to Stacey, I saw your hand up too, Dana. So after Stacey talks, then you can say something. I just want to repeat what I think I heard, which I think is the most relevant, which is, for the dispensing permits, you don't think that there are any cases that were referred to OCSA specifically for those inspections for the 650. Can you repeat what you said there so that I'm clear?
Referred from OCSA to other parties. As far as I know, that there were not independent actions taken by OCSA on those, specifically on their inspections of the dispensing permits.
So this narrow change is not, you don't think will impact their ability to do their work. Let's hear from Stacey so that we're clear.
Yes, correct. So OCSA has two very distinct, I guess I'll call them hats. So they have the dispensing permit inspection hat and then the CDS registration hat, and they're completely separate. The CDS registration is in Title V. That's not being touched at all. The dispensing comes from Health Occupations, Title 12. So OCSA can still refer all the cases that they want associated with the CDS registration, and none of that referral relationship will change whatsoever.
Can I stop you for 1 second? So if I'm going to be running a pill mill, I would need a CDS registration, right? Okay, thank you for that.
And actually, it's a big misconception too. The vast majority of CDS prescribing does not involve dispensing whatsoever. So if you're issuing just plain prescriptions for oxycodone, hydrocodone, whatever other CDS or opioid you might be writing, you're not dispensing that. Dispensing involves, for instance, in Ms. Kaufman, I know she also represents, I think she does patient first as well, but correct me if I'm wrong, Dana. Right, I remember you from the board. So, the dispensing is what you typically see with patient first. You go to the doctor, you walk home, you walk out with the prescription, but the vast majority of CDS is just written from a prescription and then filled at pharmacy. So I think that's also a misconception. And I also wanted to draw attention to our Health Occupations 14411M, which allows the board to refer for criminal prosecution to law enforcement. So both Medicaid fraud and the criminal unit of the AG's office, would be appropriate referrals. The board would be allowed to refer cases. I actually talked with Tracy Fruman yesterday from the Medicaid fraud control unit and suggested that perhaps their division might want to come to the board and give a presentation about what sort of referrals they'd like to see from the board. So as Matt said, I think the board is very open to referring these cases to criminal and to Medicaid fraud, and would definitely want to have those relationships with the referrals.
Okay, so what the most relevant thing I heard you say there, I'm just going to repeat it because I want to make sure I'm clear. They're concerned about 14.4.10, which would block the board from making referrals, and you're saying 14.4.11 allows it for criminal situations. Is that
right? And yeah, and I'm not sure if they meant to say 14.4.11 or not, because 14.4.10 deals with the admission of board documents in a criminal or civil case. So, I mean, that's, I guess, different. That's an admission of the evidence, but the board can always still refer cases. So it's a little bit different. So, I mean, that's true. Our files would probably not be admissible, but they can also still get the files from OCSA the same way they do now. And as Matt correctly said, OCSA was never allowed to do any sort of discipline regarding the dispensing permit. That always had to be referred then back to the board to do that discipline. So OCSA never collected any evidence that either the criminal division or Medicaid fraud would be able to use. They simply were in charge with doing the inspections and then referring the case back over to the board to, further collect evidence, do interviews, handle the disciplinary side. So they've never been able to do disciplinary actions. That's always resided with the board. And it's that back and forth that the board wants to really enhance the efficiency. So rather than the board issuing permits, sending them to OCSA for inspections, and then coming back to the board for discipline, this would have everything remain with the board related to dispensing permits.
So thank you for that. I'm going to toss it to Dana. I'm going to remind everyone that we have 4 minutes left on this call. So I see a lot of people's gears turning in their brains. Write down your questions that are coming up, and we will come back to this next week. I am sorry we're not going to have time for questions. Dana.
And the only thing I'm going to add, because I think Matt and Stacy really nailed it, is the fact that in Title V, OCSA has the ability to inspect offices that have a CDS. So their ability to go into these physician offices is not being changed in this bill. If the physician office has a CDS, then OCSA has a statutory mandate that they can inspect. And that's the only thing I'll add to Stacy and Matt.
Excellent. So it's 11:26. Rather than open it up to questions, I will just say thank you everyone for explaining your positions. It sounds like there's some clarification that we maybe need to do. Hopefully some of that can happen over the next week before the committee comes back, and we will continue this discussion next week when the committee comes back on this bill. Sound like a good plan to everyone? Okay, excellent. With that, we will adjourn this meeting, and thank you, subcommittee, for your excellent